Here tonight, John Bolton, the former Trump National Security Advisor, who was also the former head of the DOJ Civil Division under President Ronald Reagan. So perfect to talk about this. What did you make of the ruling today?
Well, I thought the result was correct for the case they had. But unlike some people, I don't think the opinion itself was that great. I think it was confused and muddy in its analysis of where the immunity applied and where it didn't apply. I think the cleanest way to have written this opinion was to say nothing that was alleged in the indictment that Trump did were official actions. They were the actions of a candidate for office. The indictment starts off saying he was trying to contest the election that veered into criminality. I mean, by definition, no official act of the president can be something that gets him involved in criminal activity. This was private behavior, not public behavior.
So you don't think that they were clear enough on that? Because there was one part where it said, he claims these are official actions, but what's alleged here, inserting yourself into the electoral count process has nothing to do with the presidency. They made that part clear.
That's correct. That's why I say that part of the reasoning of the court is confused, and it could afford some justices on the Supreme Court an interest in taking the case, not to change the result, but to change and fix the reasoning correctly so that future cases involving presidents or senior executive branch officials are not confused by the reasoning that the district.
Do you think it goes to the Supreme Court?
Well, I don't know. I think it's there are a lot of ways the court could split this. They could, for example, allow the mandate of the Court of Appeals to issue, allow the district court to proceed in the interest of judicial efficiency, and yet consider and grant certiorari on the larger issue. Or another jurisdictional issue, this one I think the Court of Appeals could have gotten wrong, where they said they did have jurisdiction to take an interlocutory appeal. There was it's very strange, an amicus brief, not Jack Smith, not Donald Trump, but an amicus brief argued that the immunity issue should come after trial.
Right. But even Trump and Jack Smith's team said, no, well, let's decide it now. So that was the jurisdiction. But I think the big takeaway when people look at this is, does it mean this trial happens soon?
Well, another way the Supreme Court could approach it is to say, we agree immunity should be decided after trial, but you should present facts at trial that prove that this is not official action, Jack Smith. That's your burden to show the president wasn't carrying out official duties, because there are circumstances where something the president does is mixed. In part, it is official, but in part, it's private behavior, too. So, for example, in an obstruction of justice scheme, should be illegal, perhaps the president grants somebody a pardon. Now, the case law is basically a president's pardon power is unrestrained. That's a complicated issue. That's not what we have here. This was all unofficial conduct, but that's not what the Court of Appeals opinion gets into.
CNN is reporting tonight that on Thursday, that's when his legal team's going before the Supreme Court. A separate issue, but that's on the 14th Amendment, whether he can be on the ballot in all 50 states, since some have tried to remove him and some have removed him. He's not going to go. What do you make of his decision that he's shown up to other court cases, but he's not going to go to that one?
I think in this case, he's worried that he's outnumbered 9-1. It's not just some district judge somewhere, some state court judge in New York. This is the Supreme Court. This is the third branch of government sitting in front of him, three of whose members he appointed. And I think he thinks maybe a little overawed by that. I think he's chickening out here.
How does he view the Supreme Court? I mean, you worked for him.
I don't think he understands the Supreme Court much better than he understands most of the rest of the Constitution. And I think those who think that his appointees will just do what he wants and are afraid of that, I don't think they know really the kinds of justices he appointed. I think he's going to be disappointed in them.
Ambassador John Bolton, it's great to have you. Nice to have you here in person.
Glad to be here.